You found a great candidate. The interviews went well. You were excited about them. Maybe you were even thinking this could be the person. And then something happens. Something shifts. They start taking longer to respond. They suddenly seem less interested. Or worse, you get the call that they've accepted another offer. And you're sitting there thinking, what happened? We really liked them. They seemed to like us. So where do we lose them? And after more than 20 years in recruiting, I can tell you this. Sometimes you didn't lose the candidate because of the job. You lost them because of your interview process. And the worst part is you probably didn't even realize it was happening. Today, I'm breaking down 3 interview mistakes that I see companies make that quietly push great candidates away. And the third one is especially frustrating because companies often think they're being thorough when they're actually making it harder for someone to say yes. I'm Renee Fry from Talent Q, and this is Building Your High-Performing Team, where we help you hire smarter, reduce turnover, and build teams that drive business results so you can finally sleep at night. If you're responsible for hiring and building high-performing teams, hit subscribe. We're sharing new strategies every week to help you get better people on your team and keep them there. Before we get into the 3 mistakes, there's one thing I need every hiring leader to understand. The interview is a two-way street. Yes, you're interviewing the candidate, but they are absolutely interviewing you. And the stronger the candidate, the more important this knowledge becomes. Think about the people you really want to hire. Most of them are already working. They're successful. They're valued. They're making money. They know the people they work with. They know their boss. They know what to expect when they walk into work tomorrow morning. There is a comfort in what you already know. So for someone to leave a company and take a chance on joining your company, there has to be a really compelling reason. While you're sitting in the interview thinking, do I want this person on my team? They're sitting across from you thinking, do I want to work for this person? Do I trust this leadership team? Is this opportunity actually better than what I'm doing today? And here's what I think sometimes companies forget. Every single interaction is giving that candidate part of the answer. The first email, scheduling the interview process, the interview, how prepared you are, how you talk about your employees, how quickly your team follows up, all of it. Your hiring process is giving them a little preview of what it might feel like to work for your company. And whether you realize it or not, that experience becomes part of your employment brand. Candidates talk. They remember how you made them feel. And even the candidates you don't hire walk away with an impression of your company. So the interview process isn't only affecting the person sitting in front of you today, it's shaping what people think about your company as a place to work. Which brings me to mistake number 1. Mistake number 1, you turn the interview into an interrogation instead of a conversation. I see this all the time. The candidate sits down and immediately becomes question, question, question. Tell me about this. Why did you do that? Give me an example of this. Tell me about a time when. And then, do you have any questions for us? Boom, interview over. Listen, I'm all for asking great interview questions. I'm behavioral interview certified and used to train it at Target Corp. Yes, you should dig deep. You need to understand what this person has actually accomplished. How do they lead? How do they solve problems? How do they handle conflict? What results have they delivered? What have they learned from the things that didn't go well? You absolutely need to understand whether this person can do the job. But the interview should still feel like a conversation because you're not the only person making a decision. The candidate is making one too. So while you're learning about them, they should be learning about you. Why is the role open? Why does it matter? What would they get to own? What would they get to build? What would they get to fix? What impact could they actually have on the business? And why should they be excited about doing that with your company? Because here's what happens when you don't have that conversation. The candidate leaves thinking, well, I answered a lot of questions, but I'm not really sure I'd leave my job for this. And now they're comparing your opportunity to what they already have, the boss they already know, the coworkers they know, the routine that they know, the paycheck that already hits their bank account. Change comes with risk. So if you want someone to leave something familiar, you need to give them a reason to believe that what they're moving toward is worth it. That doesn't mean overselling your job or your company. It does not mean turning the interview into a complete sales pitch. It means having a real conversation about the opportunity. And it means showing genuine interest in the person sitting across from you. You can absolutely ask tough questions. You can run a rigorous interview, and you can still make someone feel respected, valued, and wanted. The best interviews do both. And at the end of the conversation, you don't want the candidate thinking, I hope they liked me. You want a little bit of, I hope I really get this job. And that's the difference. Now, let's say you did that really well. They had a great first interview. They're excited. You're excited. This is where companies make mistake number 2. And I see this one cost companies great candidates all the time. Mistake number 2, you let it drag. You have a great interview on Monday and then nothing. You need to get everyone's feedback. Someone's traveling. Another person needs to meet the candidate. Their calendar's full until next Thursday. Then someone decides they want to have one more conversation, and suddenly 2 or 3 weeks have gone by. Meanwhile, do you know what the candidate is doing? Living their life, doing their job, talking to other companies, getting recruited by other recruiters, maybe receiving other offers. Great candidates don't sit on a shelf waiting for you to make a decision. And I see companies make this mistake all the time. They confuse a long interview process with a thorough interview process. These are not the same thing. You should absolutely do your due diligence. Please do not hear me saying you should rush into hiring the wrong person, but you should have an actual process before you even start interviewing. Know who needs to meet the candidates. Know why they need to meet them. Know what each person is responsible for evaluating in the candidates. And then make sure your interview team has actually created space to interview. One of the things I recommend is having HR or talent acquisition team block time on interviewers' calendars in advance. That way, when you find a great candidate, you're not starting from scratch trying to coordinate 5 impossible calendars. You already have time available to move them through the process. And if blocking time in advance isn't realistic, then get commitment from the interview team up front that these interviews are a priority. That may mean moving another meeting. That may mean shifting something on the calendar. Because if everyone agrees they want great talent, they also have to be willing to make time when great talent shows up. You cannot say hiring is a priority and then make a candidate wait 10 days because nobody can find 45 minutes. And there is nothing more frustrating than hearing, we really like this candidate, but we think Susan should meet them too. Why? What exactly is Susan going to evaluate that no one else has? Sometimes there is a very good answer to that question, and sometimes there isn't. Every extra step costs you time, and time matters. Because when your process goes quiet, candidates fill in the blanks. They start wondering, did they like me? Did something change? Are they interviewing someone better? Are they even serious about filling this position? And this is another piece companies miss. A slow, disorganized interview process can also become a reflection of the company itself. Especially when you're interviewing leaders. They're paying attention to how decisions get made. They're watching how people communicate. They're noticing whether everyone seems aligned. Because if it takes 3 weeks and 6 meetings to make one hiring decision, they might start wondering, is everything this hard here? Now, life happens. People travel, calendars get crazy, things come up. I live in the real world too. But communication fixes a lot of this. If there's going to be a delay, tell the candidate. Keep them informed. Let them know you're still interested. You would be amazed at how many candidates we keep engaged simply because we stay in communication with them. The worst thing that you can do is disappear. Because while you're silent, someone else may be building a relationship with the exact candidate you want to hire. So when you find someone great, move with purpose. You don't have to rush, but you do need to keep moving. And then we get to mistake number 3. This is one where companies often tell me, but Renee, we just wanted to be thorough. I understand, but there's a point where thorough becomes excessive. Mistake number 3. You bury the candidate in interview rounds. 5 interviews, 7 people, another panel, one more conversation, and somehow the candidate gets asked the same questions 4 different times. Tell me about your leadership style. Tell me about your leadership style. Tell me about your leadership style. By interview number 5, they're probably thinking, did any of these people talk to each other? Here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Does every person in this process actually need to interview this candidate? And does every interview have a specific purpose? Because more interviews do not automatically equal a better hiring decision. Sometimes they simply create more opportunities to lose a great candidate. And there's another problem with these long, overly formal interview processes. Candidates can go round after round and still have no idea what it would actually feel like to work there. They meet HR, then the hiring manager, then another executive, then a panel on Teams. But did they meet the people they're going to work with every day? Did they see the work environment? Did they get a feel for the culture beyond whatever is written on your website? This is especially important when you're hiring leaders. If you're hiring an operations leader, get them into the operation. Walk the floor, let them see what's happening. Let them meet people. Watch what they notice. Watch what questions they ask. Watch how they interact with your employees. You're learning about them and they're learning about you. This is incredibly valuable because people don't just accept jobs based on job descriptions. They accept jobs because they can picture themselves there. They can see the opportunity. They can connect with the people, and they start imagining what they could do, what they could change, what they could build. You want the candidate to start emotionally stepping into the role before you've ever made them a job offer. That's when there's the real pull. So keep your interview process as simple as it can be while still giving you the information you need to make a great decision. Not one interview just because speed matters, and not 7 interviews because everyone wants a vote. Be intentional. Every step should have a reason. So let me bring this all together for you. 3 mistakes that can quietly scare off your best candidates. Number 1, you forget the interview is a 2-way conversation. You spend the entire team evaluating the candidate, never giving them a reason to become excited about you. Number 2, you let the process drag. Interest starts high, communication disappears, and somewhere in that silence, you lose momentum. And number 3, you overcomplicate the process. Too many people, too many rounds, too much repetition, and not enough opportunity for the candidate to actually experience the company and the people they'd be joining. All 3 of these mistakes create the same problem. You finally found someone great, and then your own process makes it harder for them to choose you. And if this is one of those things that sounds really simple when we're talking about it here, but in real life, this is where hiring gets difficult. If you're trying to run a business, your leadership team has full calendars, and the candidate is working a full-time job. Everyone's schedules are fighting for each other. And meanwhile, the candidate may be interviewing with 2 or 3 other companies. This is a huge part of what we manage at Talent Q. Our job isn't just to find someone and throw a resume at you. We're talking to the candidates throughout the entire process, where their head is at. We know what questions they have. We know what's most important to them in making a change. We know when something has shifted. We keep communication moving between interviews. And when there's a concern, we're usually able to uncover it before it becomes the reason they walk away. Because there's a huge difference between finding a great candidate and actually getting that great candidate hired. The space between these 2 things is where a lot of companies lose people. So if you take one thing away from today's episode, let it be this. Your interview process is not just how you decide whether you want a candidate. It's also how that candidate decides whether they want to work for you. Every interaction matters. Be intentional, keep the process moving, and remember that the best candidates have a lot of choices. Make sure your hiring process gives them a reason to choose you. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the longest interview process you've ever been through? Drop it in the comments because I have heard some crazy ones. And if you're responsible for hiring and building a high-performing team, subscribe. Please hit subscribe. We have new videos every week to help you hire better, keep your best people, and build a team that makes your job easier, not harder. I'm Renee Fry with Talent Q, and this has been Building Your High-Performing Team. When your team is dialed in, that's when leadership feels effortless. Cheers for now, and I'll see you in the next one.